The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to today's roleplay session with your host, James McDonald.
Well, thank you very much, Andrea, and I'd like to start, as always, by welcoming our participants to our favorite webinar of the week. This is our roleplay session. I hope all of you came ready to volunteer. We've got something special that we're doing here this morning. I think a few weeks ago, one of our members sent in a recording of their follow-up call, which we listened to and critiqued, and it was really good. And obviously, it encouraged some others to do exactly the same thing. And here's what I recommend. We're gonna listen to a couple this morning here that were sent in to us. But here's maybe how I want you to approach this. You're generating leads. Now you got to follow up with the leads. If you do a really good job with follow-up, you can book an appointment with anyone you want to book an appointment with. Now, you won't want to book an appointment with everybody, but you will be able to book an appointment with anybody that sounds like their motivation and timing is appropriate to book an appointment. If you know what to say, and if you understand how to make the offer compelling and non-threatening, you can book an appointment with anybody that you like. But it's not a given. In other words, if you are following up with your prospects and you're winging it at all, if you're winging it to any degree whatsoever, winging it means you're just getting on the phone and trying to have conversations with people. What winds up happening is you don't determine timing and motivation, and you don't book appointments with worthy prospects. And then what starts to happen is you begin to question the leads themselves and say, well, hang on a second. If these prospects aren't outright telling me on the phone that they're motivated to buy or sell, then I guess they're not motivated to buy or sell. But the more you understand this, the more you realize that the prospect isn't likely to just come out and voluntarily share their true motivation and their true timing with you. It takes using language to make the prospect feel comfortable about doing that. So make no mistake, this is a skill. And it is a learned skill, but everybody can learn this skill. Without it, though, what winds up happening, as I said, is you're having conversations with people who are going to make themselves appear as though they're less motivated than they actually are. And that is true in almost every case. It's kind of like this. Virtually everybody that walks into the shoe store says, no thanks, just looking. Yet, a huge percentage of them actually purchase. So although they all said, no thanks, just looking, the fact is that a huge percentage of them were doing a lot more than just looking. They were looking to purchase. So we've got to understand this is the same thing. Now, here's my suggestion. At very least, at a minimum, you want to record yourself making a couple of these follow-up calls. Because just by you listening to yourself, you're going to hear things you don't notice when you're on the phone with the prospect. And not just hearing what you're saying and what you sound like, but what you're going to notice, shockingly, is that the prospect is telling you things that you're not hearing when you're on the phone with them. You're hearing it as a third party by listening back to your recording. And I'll tell you why this happens. When you are using the universal callback script and you haven't reached that mastery level yet, what happens is you're very focused on what you're going to say next. So your mind is consumed with, okay, now the next thing I'm going to say, the next question I'm going to ask, or here's how I'm going to make the offer. And while your brain is thinking about what you're going to say next, you're not really processing what the prospect is telling you and what might be a better question to ask the prospect based on what the prospect is telling you. Remember this. The purpose of this phone call is to determine timing and motivation. Well, that's only going to be determined based on what they tell you. So if you're not listening to what they're telling you, then you're going to miss, obviously, the whole purpose of the call, their timing and motivation. So you're going to hear this for yourself, and you're going to find it extremely instructional. Now, if you're really bold, then what you'll do is when you're on a consultation with your coach, you'll play a couple of the calls and let your coach listen to your calls. Then, when you really become daring, you can do what some of our members have done here this week and actually sent us their calls so that we can listen to them as a group, and you can hear exactly what I'm talking about here by listening from a third-party perspective to a real live follow-up call using the universal script, there is nothing more instructive than that. So this is going to pay dividends for everybody, but particularly for those of you that record and send in your follow-up calls. I want to welcome Craig to the call. I heard him typing away here.
And
I believe that.
so and he was typing to us. Unfortunately, he was not able to stay on, so it's just you and me.
Oh, okay. All right. I heard the familiar keyboard sound of Craig typing away in the background to the chat questions, but that's okay. No worries. Well, why don't we do this, Andrea? I know we probably have questions, and we probably have volunteers that want to do some role playing, and certainly we will do that. But first, why don't we listen to one of our calls that were sent in? Let's take a listen, and we'll do a little critiquing, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, give me just one.
Show you guys how good this is.
Give me just 1 second to reprogram my audio, and you will hear it in just a moment.
By the way, who is the member that sent in this call? Did you not like the question?
I'm sorry. I had already moved to stereo mode. His name is slipping my mind. I want to say it was Edwin.
Okay, well, don't worry. He'll say it when he introduces himself on the call.
I'm so sorry about that. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna go back to stereo mode.
All right, no fear, ladies and gentlemen. We're just queuing up.
Hello. Hi, may I talk to Tony?
Who's calling?
Hi, Tony. This is Erwin with Century 21 Realty. And the reason I'm calling is I received your request for bond foreclosures.
Oh, that's what this was. Did you call yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
I was not able to get a hold of you. So, yeah, I'm just.
When I don't know the number and they don't leave a message.
That's okay.
I just wonder who it is.
Yeah. So I'm just calling because I received your request, and just a courtesy, just want to let you know that I received it, and I'm going to be working on it for you. Okay.
That's perfect.
Great. So are you planning on making the move in the next 3 to 6 months?
If the move is good, yeah.
If the move is good. Okay. And do you currently own right now, or are you renting?
Renting.
Oh, you're renting. Okay. And is there a lease contract that you're in right now, or you're month to month?
No, neither.
Okay, so you can move out anytime when you find the right property. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And would you prefer? It says you're Bolton and Vaughan, right?
Yeah.
So you live in Vaughan right now, or Bolton?
Yes, Vaughan.
Okay, so you prefer to stay or Bolton? Okay. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm on a cell phone, so sometimes it cuts in and out.
Oh, no problem. Are you ideally? When would you like to move?
It wouldn't matter to me.
It wouldn't matter.
Like you said, within that time frame.
Okay. And are you currently working with an agent? Are you committed to working with an agent right now?
No commitment, no.
No commitments. Okay. Right. So would you like me to email you daily updates of homes that match your home buying criteria from all real estate companies?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's free of charge, and it obligates you to nothing. Okay.
Okay.
Great. So I'm just wondering, when can we get together for about 30 minutes so I can take down exactly what it is that you're looking for? So I really want to do a great job for you. So I just want to be sending you properties that perfectly match your criteria. So,
I prefer after work.
After work, okay. So let me just check my schedule. Would you be available? Let's say Friday afternoon.
Like what time?
You live in Vaughan, right? I could do 5. I have an opening at 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. Which one works best for you?
I could do the 7 one.
7 p.m. Okay, I can drop by your place in Vaughan. Like, where do you live?
Okay.
Where do you live? What's your address?
I'm in Maple.
Maple. Okay.
Yeah.
What's your address? Lecture. Okay, I know the street. Okay. Yeah. So I'll book in for Friday at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And I'll confirm with you tomorrow and see if that still works for you. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so I really want to do a great job for you. Again, it's a free service, and
Okay.
you're never obligated to do anything, okay?
Okay.
Great, so I look forward to seeing you at 7 on Friday.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Tony.
Bye now.
Have yourself a good day. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, Andrea. So let's. I took down some notes that I wanted to share with everybody, and so it was Edwin. Is that right, Andrea? Edwin,
Yes.
did I get that right?
Edwin, yes. Oh, wait, Erwin. I'm so sorry. Erwin, I believe.
Erwin. All right. Andrea, you sound like you're on speakerphone all of a sudden.
I'm so sorry. Having audio issues trying to get back to you. Let me try to fix it.
No problem. Okay, so let me break down a couple of the points that I made here. First of all, let's agree that the purpose of this call was to determine timing and motivation, and if the timing and motivation is appropriate, then to book an appointment with the prospect. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that 50% of that was accomplished in that an appointment was booked with the prospect. However, I'm going to be a little bit critical here, and I'm going to say that I'm not sure that Erwin really determined the timing and motivation of the prospect that well. In other words, that could have been done better. And I know that you can look at this and say, well, he booked the appointment. You know, what more do you want here? Because this was a pretty easy prospect. Okay, that's great. But how about this? Let's be really, really good with the most difficult prospect so that everybody seems like an easy prospect. If we're really good using the language, the words that come out of our mouth, then every prospect is as easy as this particular prospect. Because there were a couple glaring things here that may seem like insignificant details, but that are really, really important. Like the first is this, okay? The prospect should not be the one asking the questions, or at least if they are, you can answer the question, but immediately you need to take control of the conversation again. Let me give you an example. The prospect says, oh, were you the one calling yesterday? You're trying to call me yesterday? Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to say, yeah, that was me, and then that's it. Wait for them to ask the next question. They're not the ones leading this conversation. You are. So the correct answer is, yes, that was me trying to reach you. I just wanted to call and as a courtesy and let you know that I did receive your request, and I put together a list of distressed sale properties that you were looking for. I hope that's okay. You need to always be the one leading the phone call. You are the one calling them in response to their request for information. So they can ask you anything and you can answer it, but you always have to immediately then take the reins and make sure you're leading this. So that worked out okay, but I thought that could be stronger. Okay, now here's something that's really vital. And it may seem like a small detail, but it makes all the difference, okay? The way that Craig designed these probing questions is to make the prospect feel like they're not being threatened by a salesperson. So, in other words, instead of saying, when are you moving? The way that you want to ask the question is, if you were to make a move, when do you think that might be? Now, I want you to take those two questions apart. Listen to those two questions. We're on the phone. All we have are the words that come out of our mouth. So I want to figure out when the prospect is going to be doing something. And I want to make sure that they don't feel threatened by me. So if I say to the prospect, when are you moving? I know that just like the person that walks into the shoe store, the prospect is probably going to be vague. At best, they're going to be vague. But if I say, if you were to make a move, when do you think that might be? What I'm doing by using that language, I'm using hypothetical language. I'm not saying you are moving, but if you were to make a move, when do you think that might be? Listen, when you do it this way, what you're going to find overwhelmingly is that you're making your prospect feel more comfortable in sharing their true motivation and timing. So, but if you come out directly and say, where are you going? Where are you moving? That's very different than if you were to make a move, would you be staying here locally or would you consider moving out of the area? The words that come out of our mouth paint a picture in the prospect's mind. We want to paint a picture that is very non-threatening to the prospect. So suggesting that they're definitely moving is threatening to the prospect. hypothetically saying, if you were to make a move, when do you think that might be, is a lot less threatening for the prospect to answer more accurately. So you always want to make sure that when you're asking questions, you're aware of your phrasing, because the prospect is going to feel threatened. Now, here's my suggestion. In that circumstance, I think that it would have been appropriate to ask one or two additional questions to the prospect. And the reason is because I want to be fully satisfied that their motivation is where it should be. So let me give you an example, okay? One of the questions that might have wanted to ask was, Erwin could have said something like this. If the perfect home came available, would you be in a position to buy it today? You know, if the perfect property were to become available, if you were to be aware of a property that was absolutely perfect for what you and your family are looking for, how serious would you be about purchasing that property, you know, today or in the very near future? And the answer to that question is going to be pretty revealing. All right, that would be a good one. How about this? Something as simple as this. Hey, prospect, how long have you been looking for a property? Now, the reason that we're sometimes asking these kinds of questions is because if the answers that we got to the initial questions weren't sufficient, then we might need additional information. So it's perfectly okay to ask a couple, one or two additional questions that might help us pin down how good this prospect is. Okay, so I'm gonna recommend that in this case, that might have been an appropriate thing to do. Okay, now I want to talk about the offer. And of course, the offer worked out well for Erwin, but I thought that it could have been stronger. In other words, it's so vital that when the prospect requested a list of properties and you've sent the list of properties, when you make the offer, you have to differentiate what you're proposing now versus what you've already sent them. So if I say to the prospect, hey, Erwin, would you like to receive a free list of properties that perfectly match what you're looking for? My list includes distressed sale, bank foreclosures. You must understand that that doesn't sound any different from what I've already sent them. And if it doesn't sound any different from what I've sent them, then they're not going to be compelled to want it. It defeats the purpose. You've got to make the offer sound freaking awesome. You've got to make it sound way better than what they're getting. You need to make it sound like what I've sent you is trash compared to what I'm proposing now. Erwin, would you like to receive every day all of the great deals the moment they come on the market from all the different real estate companies? I can set you up so that as bank foreclosures, company-owned properties, distress sales, and other hard-to-find deals that match exactly what you're looking for come on the market, immediately they go into your email inbox. It's absolutely free. There's no obligation whatsoever. Would you be interested in getting set up on that daily email? That's how this needs to sound. We need the prospect to listen to those words, and they need to see that as being way better than just getting a list of properties. Now, as I said, in this particular instance, it worked out, and the prospect said, yeah, sure, and you booked the appointment, and that's all great. But I'm going to suggest that was a pretty good prospect, a pretty laid-down prospect, which is great. The majority of the time, listen, be prepared for the most difficult prospect, and then everybody will seem easy. A couple other things here. The way that you want to make the offer is remember, you're making the prospect feel like they're the ones booking the appointment. So you said, when would be a good time to get together? What you want to say is days or evenings. Now, in this case, the prospect actually interrupted you and said after work, evenings. Okay, now here's the way you do it. You do not pick a time. Okay, it happened to work out this time, but very often it won't work out when you do that. The way you want to do it is you want to say, what would be better, Thursday or Friday evening? Now they say Friday evening. Great, what's better, early, sometime just after 5, or sometime later in the evening after 7 or 8? Make them feel like they're the ones picking the time. Meanwhile, you're guiding them to the time, but they feel like they're picking it. Okay, now one other thing. The language that you used to confirm the appointment was, number one, it was unnecessary, but also it gave an opening for the prospect to cancel the appointment. Here's how it sounded. Hey, Erwin, I'm going to call you to confirm. And you know what? If something comes up and you're not able to do the appointment, no problem at all. I'll just call you to confirm, and you can cancel it, or we can postpone it, or reschedule it when I call you. That's how it sounded to me. It cannot sound that way. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be confirming anything. What I would say is this: Erwin, between now and Friday, I want you to sit down and consider all of the important elements in the property that you're looking for, so that we can do a good, quick job for you when we meet on Friday. If I don't hear from you between now and then, I'll assume that our appointment is good to go, and I'll see you at 7 o'clock on Friday. If anything comes up between now and then, I'm going to send you all my contact details. We can reschedule should that happen. But I'm going to do a fair amount of preparation for our appointment, so I'll look forward to seeing you on Friday evening at 7. Thanks. Have a great day. That's how you want to do it. You don't want to tell them, hey, look, you're probably going to cancel this. I understand. Because that's kind of the language. That's the picture that's being painted. So, hey, listen. The whole point of doing this is so that we can nitpick and make you a master with this. So it sounds like I'm picking apart all of these little tiny things. But understand, Erwin is a 9 out of 10. You're a 9 out of 10. I want to make you a 10 out of 10. So all we're doing by probing these little details is we're making you a 10 out of 10, so that you don't have to generate thousands of leads to book many, many appointments. You don't need that. You can take very few prospects, and because you are a 10 out of 10 with lead conversion, you don't require hundreds and hundreds of leads to book an appointment. And that means that you're not spending all your waking hours on the phone, because in the space of an hour, you can book 2 or 3 appointments. It keeps you pretty darn busy. I really appreciate Erwin sending in that call, and I hope it encourages others to do the same thing as well. Listen, this is how you get really good at this. Okay, Andrea, what I want to do now is I want to take some questions or feedback or anything in the chat that relates to Erwin's call here. Can we do that?
We can. We have Michelle asking, why is he going to the client as opposed to making the client come to his office?
Yeah, that was something else that I found curious as well. Honestly, your preference would be to have the prospect come to you. Now, that would be your preference. Hey, look, as long as you meet with the prospect, you can meet with them at a Starbucks. Meeting with the prospect allows you the opportunity to give the buyer presentation and get them compelled to hire you. In other words, get them signed to a buyer brokerage. Okay, now watch this. The reason that you'd prefer to get them to come to your office in this situation is because they're not going to be listing their home for sale. All right, they're not a seller. They are a buyer only. So one of the ways that we can sort of determine their motivation is by making them jump through an additional hoop. Now, would you agree that somebody that gets in a car and drives to your office has demonstrated more motivation than someone who has not gotten in their car and driven to your office for an appointment to receive properties for sale? In other words, we want the prospect to prove to us that they're a worthy prospect. And a prospect is someone who has demonstrated a motivation to buy or sell real estate. Well, how about this? Somebody who got in their car and drove to you has certainly demonstrated motivation. People that aren't serious tend not to do those kinds of things. So I tend to agree that what you'd prefer to do is book the appointment in your office so that the prospect can prove to you that they are a serious, worthy prospect, a sincere prospect, and their actions kind of show that to you. But, again, I know maybe logistically there was a problem. Maybe your office is very far away from where this prospect was. I don't know if there were, other circumstances, but as a general rule, if they own their home that they would be selling, you'd prefer to meet them at their home. If they do not, and they only represent a buy side, then we'd prefer them to jump through that additional hoop and come and meet with you at your office. Great point.
And we do have some of our Platinum members are saying this is something we learned at one of the Platinum webinars. And even Bill Watson is coming in saying sometimes we feel like buyers may be jumping through too many hoops, causing them to be suspect or cancel. And in some areas, some markets, the appointment cancellations went down when they offered to meet them at their home.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, Craig would be the first one to say, don't ever stop what works. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what matters. But let's paint two different scenarios here. Okay, the one scenario is this: we're not just trying to get people; we're trying to get prospects. So, in other words, if the prospects don't come to the appointment, what does that say about the prospect? Well, it could say a number of things. It could demonstrate a lack of motivation, or it could mean they really didn't see the benefit in your offer. Now, it doesn't mean that the prospect themselves are any less motivated. The prospect is going to buy a home. They're going to buy a home. They're motivated. But the words that came out of your mouth didn't compel them enough for them to get in the car and meet with you. That's not the prospect. That doesn't mean the prospect wasn't motivated. It means you didn't compel them to want what you were offering. That's not the prospect's fault. That's your fault. Okay, so there is that part of this that we have to take responsibility for. Now, having said that, let's say all things are equal, and we say, when I book the appointment with the buyers at their home, I am 50% more likely to get an appointment and procure a contract with a worthy buyer. Craig would be the first person to tell you then, if that's the deal, if you are more successful doing it that way, then for God's sakes, don't stop doing what clearly works better. However, ultimately, when you get in a position where you've got lots and lots of buyers, and now we have maybe too many buyers, and you want to be more selective in the buyers you work with, let's have everyone agree with this. You would agree that a buyer that would get in the car and come and meet with you would probably be a buyer that has demonstrated more motivation, more cooperation than a buyer that didn't. Let me also point this out. You guys are well aware of Craig Proctor's track record. You're well aware that this is called the Craig Proctor coaching program. This is the Craig Proctor system. Well, I would like to share something with you. For 15 years straight, Craig sold over 500 homes a year. About 50% of those transactions every year were with buyers. Many of those buyers were first-time buyers and other buyers that didn't own the home that they're living in to sell, and every one of them came to the office for the appointment. In other words, what I'm sharing with you is Craig Proctor's system. Not anybody else's system, but the Craig Proctor system that caused him to sell 500 homes a year, every year, over and over and over again for 15 years straight. A 25-year career that is unprecedented among any sales rep at any company anywhere in the world. That's Craig Proctor's system. That's what you guys paid for. That's what makes so much sense. So what I'm telling you is this. The buyers will come to you. Oh, yes, they will. I saw it with my own eyes for 20 years. They absolutely will. But they will only come to you for two reasons. One is if the words that came out of your mouth compelled them to want what you're offering. And number two, if the prospect is good. If the prospect is no good, they're unlikely to come. If the words that come out of your mouth aren't compelling, they're unlikely to want what you're offering and show up for your appointment. I agree with those two things. So I want to take all of this into account and say, why don't we do this? We're going to start by copying the system that Craig created so successfully. But we're also going to be open, once we've copied, to innovating and seeing, well, I've put in place the model. Now let's tinker once I've put it in place and see if maybe a different approach works better for me. So remember, imitate, then innovate. Imitate, copy it exactly first, then you can innovate. And if your innovation doesn't work as well as the original model, well, you can always revert back to that. But if it does, well, great. You've discovered something that works better for you. So you say, hey, I've done it both ways, and for me, this works a lot better when I go and meet with the buyers at their residence. Cool. That's the point. Okay. I hope that makes sense, Andrea. And any more feedback there? Anyone swearing at me or anything like that?
No, we actually have Rick Brash. He's saying rules of engagement personified. And Sandy Casella, she agrees with you. Buyers are happy to have you come to their house if they are unmotivated. Going to the office shows motivation.
Let me open up. Can you open up Rick Brash's line if Rick is on here?
I sure can. Hold on one second. Rick, you're on live. Welcome.
Good morning, Richard. He's a strong silent type today.
He may not have his headset connected. I know sometimes he just listens quietly. Rick, let me know. Just chat. Oh, I think I heard him.
Hi, guys.
Hey, there he is. How you doing, Rick?
I'm good, James. How are you doing?
I'm very, very well. I'm happy to see that you're involved in the chat here, and I wanted to bring you in because I'm looking for a little backing as to this sort of line of conversation.
So, as most people know, I don't know, James, I'm probably the most old school quantum leap guy that there is, because I just did what you and Craig taught me to do. So I'm sitting here listening to you talk about the buyer client, how many buyer clients Craig worked with, and by the way, I've heard you tell me this 100 times before, and what Craig's rules of engagement were. So I came back to my marketplace, I'm learning the quantum leap, and I'm not the smartest, cookie in the jar, but if this guy's selling 500 houses a year, and he's getting the buyer to jump through a couple of hoops and come and meet him at the office, where Craig can create the client relationship and forge that relationship to get them sold sooner rather than later, then guess what? I should probably just copy that success model. So that's exactly what we did. We always bring a non-encumbered buyer into the office. It makes sense for many reasons. Like I said, we jump them through hoops to see how real they are. We're very protective of our time. Now think about that. If you're willing to drive all over the county, all over the city, all over the place doing buyer appointments, how much time of your day is wasted doing 3 appointments on a Friday afternoon? The afternoon is shot. Bring them in. Bring them in to the office, sit down with them, and talk to them like good people, like good agents, like a professional relationship should be based on, and turn them into a client. James, we've done this 1,000 times with a buyer. It's easy. You just have to get in the habit. And I also like what you're saying about the offer. Your offer has to be so value-filled, so delicious, so exciting that they're jumping in the car and they're running over to have a chat with you. And you taught us how to do that, James. So everybody needs to take heart to what James is saying here. This is the way to run the buyer side of your business.
And let's talk about the exception, okay? Because I want to be very clear that we're not saying that there aren't exceptions. We're not saying that, once in a while you'll get a prospect where this will work out better if you break your rules of engagement, but it should be the exception versus the rule.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely, I agree. Now, are we going to step over $1 to pick up a dime? Absolutely not. I mean, that's not good business either. But if we have rules, and I know it's a cliche illustration, but Craig always uses it. When's the last time you were sitting at Starbucks reading the paper and at the table next to you, a doctor was doing a diagnosis? It doesn't happen. So we're no less professional than any doctor, than any other professional in the community. They have rules of engagement. If I need a diagnosis from the doctor, I'm going in. If I need to sit down and talk about my taxes with my CPA, I'm going to his office. So why do we lessen the level of professionalism that we work under just because we relinquished control of our conversation to the prospect? Craig says prospects will leave work, they'll drive across town to get their teeth cleaned. Well, guess what? Would they leave work, drive across town, and sit and meet with us to talk about the largest financial investment they will ever make? In a heartbeat, if you present it correctly. So right. That's what James is getting at here.
Compellingly presented is the key.
Right.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Awesome. So important.
Thanks, Rick. Okay, why don't we do this, Andrea? Let's see if we have any. Well, hey, this is what you're good at, Andrea. So you've been monitoring the chat and everything else. So who's next?
We have Mike, and he typed in an objection, and I see this objection often, so I thought I'd bring it up. His OSA had a buyer appointment, and the objection is about commission. How much commission are they going to charge? And he wants to know your suggestions on how they can get by this when the buyer is just very persistent. This is a buy first seller.
Okay, I'm confused here. the question is in regards to what you're charging commission, or the question is what commission you're paying the inside or the outside sales agent?
How much commission we charge for the listing?
Okay, if they're a buyer, well, the commissions are negotiable. Here's the bottom line, though. Commissions are negotiable, but do you agree that if you give an excellent presentation that outlines all of the benefits of working with you, we use statistical data that supports your, not just your knowledge of what's happening in the marketplace, but your results. We use unique services that show everything that you do that is unique, that gets a better outcome. You have performance guarantees that put your money where your mouth is, and you have a presentation that you put together that clearly shows that you are the expert and that all realtors are not the same. Is it true that if you do that effectively, that they might want to work with you more than any other realtor or than just the average ordinary realtor? And if that's true, would they be willing to pay you a little bit more? Now, we're not saying that commissions aren't negotiable, particularly if they're a move-up buyer with a home to sell. All right, I mean, you're going to make some money from them. Commissions are negotiable. What we're suggesting, though, is this. If you give a presentation that clearly shows that you are the expert and that you're not the same as everybody else, and they want to work with you as a result of that presentation, you are in a better position to negotiate a higher commission. They're not going to shop on price. That's the point. If all things are equal, they're just going to go with the cheapest. Well, there's always going to be someone willing to work for free or certainly work for less than you. So that's not an option. We have to be able to negotiate based on our value. But that comes by having an excellent presentation that allows you to have more leverage when negotiating your fee. But understand it is a negotiation. No one's suggesting that this isn't a negotiation. It is. But you are not going to win the listing based on how much you charge. You're going to win it based on what you offer. And that presentation is what does that. And the better you get at your presentation, the more you will find that that you'll get paid what you're worth, and that in the presence of value, cost is not the issue. That's not really what matters. Okay, this is going to sound really silly, but I don't know why it just popped into my head because it never came up. I have been watching the O.J. Simpson series that's been on I don't know what channel it's on, but I don't know if any of you guys have been watching this. It's a series, I don't know, it's a mini series, so it'll be over soon. But anyway, and this is all about the O.J. Simpson trial. And he goes and he hires all of these attorneys who are the best known attorneys in the country. And there's never, ever, ever a discussion of how much am I paying? Why? Why is there never, I can't even imagine the millions and millions of dollars. But the reason is because in the presence of value, cost is not an issue. There is no, it doesn't matter. There is no, now, I'm not saying that you're saving anybody's life, but you certainly are affecting it in a big way. As Rick mentioned, this is their largest single financial asset, likely the largest transaction that they'll ever do in their lives. That's a pretty big deal. Do they want someone who's competent? Would they prefer an expert or a hobbyist? What would they prefer? This is a no-brainer. The purpose of your presentation is to show them undoubtedly that you are that person. And if you do, you will be able to negotiate your fee. I'm not saying it isn't a negotiation, but you are going to be in a stronger position. Rick, anything you want to add to that? Okay.
Mike typed in a lot of comments regarding how maybe I asked a question. So I asked him for clarification purposes if he could come online with us. So Mike, your telephone line is open. Go ahead and unmute on your end. Click the red mic button.
Hello, Mike. Mike, turn on your mic.
Mike, you're still muted on your end. There should be a red telephone or mic on your webinar control panel. Just click it. Okay, I had actually, I've lost Rick for a moment. Let me see if I can get Rick back on.
No problem.
Mike, are you with us yet?
It's okay. Rick wasn't expecting me to pull him on, so I'm sure he's got other things that are on the fly, and he's probably just.
You guys hear me?
Oh, there he is. Okay, he's back.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here working on a couple of webinar streams, but
I figured you were.
So that's a good one. It's a fair objection that we get. So again, I defer to what you and Craig taught me. And I think talking about our fee on the phone at the universal callback stage is a
So we're definitely not going to do that. Yeah, we're definitely not going to do that.
Right. I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot if we get into that conversation. So what does Craig says? He says, well, I don't know yet because I haven't seen your house. When could I come over and have a look at your house? I don't know what my rate of commission will be because I haven't had a chance to go through your home yet. Could I come over this afternoon and have a look at your home, or would tonight after dinner be better for your schedule? Right. I mean, let's not get into that conversation because we're going to lose.
By the way, you can listen to that and say, oh, wow, what a magic tongue trickery. No, is it reasonable? Is it reasonable that I would need to look at your home before I'm able to tell you whether I'm going to be able to sell this easily, quickly, or otherwise? I mean, it's completely reasonable. Commissions are negotiable. I haven't seen your home yet. When would be a good time for me to take a look? Days, evenings, weekends, what's best? This is easy. So, okay.
Mike, you're live with us if you want to go ahead and give a little explanation.
Hey, can you hear me now, James?
I can. How are you, Mike?
Really good, thanks. And you?
Excellent.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Hey, thanks for taking the question. I just just to provide some clarification, what we were trying to ask was we had a buyer appointment last night, and the purpose of the appointment was for buying, not for selling, but it was a move-up buyer who will eventually list their home for sale. And often, you know, when we get put in the hot seat there and people say, you know, we offer to do a mini evaluation at the same time when we go for the buyer appointment. And that gives us a chance to see their home. And often at the same time, they say, oh, and you know, how much will it cost when we do ultimately list our home for sale? And they're not ready to list at that point, not by a long shot. So obviously we try and avoid addressing that by saying, well, you know, when we have a proper opportunity to explain what we can do for you, you know, then we can discuss the options that you have and go through all of the different options that are available to you. And often that's sufficient, but sometimes you have people who press and say, well, you know, like we just need an idea just so that we can budget. Sometimes they don't even know if they have enough equity in their home to be able to go forward, and they want to know like a ballpark amount. Like I just was wondering if you could discuss that. How you should.
Here's how this has to be. Here's how this has to be positioned in the first place. The amount of commission that I would charge you would not give you an amount. It would only be a percentage. In other words, you're not selling your home today, so you have no idea what you're going to have left in your pocket at closing, because your home is not sold today. So if you sell your home in 2 months or 6 months, well, we don't really know what the market bears 2 months or 6 months from now. So exactly. I can't give you an amount of money in a crystal ball as to how much money you're going to get for your home 2 months or 6 months from now. So all I can do is I can share this with you. Let's take a look at what's happening with fluctuating home prices, with inventory on the market. Let's take a look at what happened with the home sales this time last year and looking into the future. All we can do is we can look at history. But as in terms of what you're going to pay in commission has to do with what you're going to get for your home. And unless we're selling your home today, we have no idea what you're going to be getting for your home. So here's what I have to suggest professionally is when you are ready to put your home on the market, at that time we can be very accurate in determining what your home will sell for, what my fee would be, and of course I will take into account, you make a purchase through me, I would take that into account, absolutely, and we would save you some money. We would look at the market conditions and how difficult or easy it'll be to sell your home, and that will play a role as well. But I will definitely give you preferential treatment at that time. But yeah. Of course, I mean, this is just reasonable. And again, too, this is the exception versus the rule. Rick, you want to weigh in?
Well, I'm just sitting here, James, looking at my bulletin board, and I'm looking at the offer we make to a sell first prospect, which is exactly what you're saying. Well, look, why don't we get together? We can have a quick chat about the market. I can show you what homes like yours in the neighborhood are selling for, And you know what? I'll give you some tips on how to really maximize your sale price and eventually the dollars that go in your pocket. And at the same time, let me do this. I'll have a look at the financial side of your sale. We'll do a net sheet. We'll create an understanding of how much you owe, what it costs to get your home sold, and what's initially left over in your pocket. And at that time, I can give you a sense as to what my fees might be. Would this afternoon work for that, or would just after dinner tonight be better for your schedule? I want to do this at the house in front of them. I don't want to do it on the telephone.
I believe that's what Mike is suggesting. This is a conversation that happens face to face.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's how we try and handle the objection for sure. But the specific situation I'm referring to is a buy first seller. So we go there for the appointment. They say, hey, you know what? We recognize the market's down a little bit. And our market is stable, okay? It's not in free fall, and it's not going up and down. It's just moderately declining the last 2 years in certain segments of the market. So some people are just, you know, they have a legit question. They say, hey, you know what? Like, we get it. We want to go ahead and find a place to buy, but we want to know just okay, I understand we didn't budget an hour for you to go through your whole spiel about the listing, but can you give us an idea? Like, we want to know, is it going to be more like 10,000 or more like 25,000? We want to know, like, you know, just a ballpark figure. And sometimes, again, you know, the way that you mentioned it, James, is how we try and handle it. But sometimes we don't do a good job of handling the situation, and they feel like we're evading the question instead of, you know, giving them a proper answer.
Well, I think you can give them a proper answer once you've explained, you know, the basis of this, of that. What I tell you you're going to have in your pocket today is irrelevant to 6 months from now, you know, or even 2 months from now necessarily. We don't know. All right, but having said that, here's a range. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Having said that, here's a range. You know, and letting them know, you know, if you do make a purchase through me, then of course I would definitely take that into account, and I would definitely save you some money.
Okay, yeah, and that's my fallback. We always want to explain the benefit to doing more business with us than just one piece instead of 2 or 3, and a range is what we fall back to. But you know, obviously we don't want to tell them, otherwise you give away your leverage. So,
yeah. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to get.
You know, and here's some other food for thought as well. Is you could suggest a sliding scale whereby the more money that I get you, the more money that I net you for your home, the more commission that will be paid, and the less money I get you for your home, the less commission that you. Would you like more, or would you like less? Right now, all of a sudden they're in a position where they're kind of saying, "Well, I want to pay you more then, because I want more. I want to net more for my home." But you know what? I got to stop. I got to stop for a second here, because watch this. The purpose of today's webinar is lead conversion, not the appointment. So this is all. I mean, this is good discussion, absolutely. But I want to bring it back on track a little bit here, and I want to focus on the phone call and booking the appointment in the first place. Let's get the appointments. You know what, Mike? You're going to make some money on these people. There's just no question. And if you're booking the appointment, you're 90% of the way there. So, and that's all great, but let's talk about how do we get more and more of these appointments, so that our biggest concern is what we're going to charge a buy first seller. You know, that would be a great problem to have. Okay, so having said that, Andrea, who's next?
We have a role play, so let's go ahead and do that since it's the role play session. Michelle London, your line is open.
London,
hello.
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, James and Andrea?
Wonderful.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, Michelle, so we're going to do a role play here. And any particular prospect you'd like me to be?
Yes, a buyer who's interested in foreclosure and distress sale properties.
All right, so ring, hello?
Hello, is Mr. McDonald there?
Yeah, who's this?
Yes, hi, this is Michelle London. I'm from Keller Williams, and the reason I'm calling is I'm responding to your request for information on foreclosure and distress sale properties in San Clemente, and I've dropped it in an email to you. Is that okay?
I don't think I saw that email. I wasn't expecting a realtor to call me.
Oh, well, it's just part of the plan. I'm wondering, are you folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months?
I don't know. We're looking.
You're looking. Well, I see that you're currently living in Mission Viejo. Are you planning on staying in the same area, or would you be moving out of the area?
We're looking out of the area. We're looking around San Clemente, maybe into Dana Point.
Into Dana Point, nice area. And are you currently renting, or do you own?
No, we're renting right now. Yeah, we're new to the area.
Oh, great. If you were to move, when do you think that might be?
I guess when we find the right property.
Okay, well, that's good. Do you have a realtor to help you with this when this is right?
We've met a couple realtors at open houses that have been sending us some properties, and one of them set us up to access their website and access all the properties for sale. So yeah, we've had some really nice, helpful realtors, that have been helping us. But I saw your ad and it looked a little different. It looked like it might be offering something special, so I thought I'd see what you had.
Well, it's true, Mr. McDonald. Not all realtors are the same, and not all of them provide the same information. Would you like me to email you daily updates of the hottest new properties that hit the market that are matching your criteria in your area? This would include bank foreclosures, as I sent you, but some of the new hottest properties are coming on the market. It is a free service, and really, you're never obligated to buy a home. Would that be of interest to you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Is this any different than what the other realtors are sending me? Because I'm getting properties, and as I said, I'm getting properties sent to me, and I have access to properties on a website.
Well, I don't know what the other realtors are sending you, but my list would include hot new deals, but it would include something called pocket listings. And what that is properties that are not listed anywhere. They're not on the MLS, which is our central database. So you wouldn't be finding them on any of the websites you look on, such as Realtor.com or Zillow. They're exclusively in-house deals, and I have access to many of these because in our office alone we have over 550 agents. So there's many different deals that come up that you would be getting access to those, and I know those are published nowhere else. Would that be of interest to you?
Yeah, no, that sounds really good for sure. Okay, yeah, please send me those properties.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I'm wondering, when can we get together for about 20 minutes so I can take down exactly what your home buying criteria are? I want to do a great job for you, and it's a computerized form that I do. It's something, it'll only take about 20 minutes of your time, and in the long run, it will save you time, energy, and money. It'll save you time because you won't have to be looking on all the different websites. It'll arrive in your inbox first thing in the morning, every morning. It'll save you energy. You don't have to run all over town looking for different properties. As I say, it'll be right in your inbox, and it'll save you money because you'll have access to the hottest new deals before most people even know about them.
Okay. Yeah, no, that sounds great. Sure.
Okay, tonight is Thursday. Is there any possibility of getting together tonight?
Tonight, you know what? Let me talk to my wife, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, well, we're on the phone right now. Can we make a tentative appointment? Would 6 o'clock or would 7 be better?
I'd really rather talk to her first before I do that.
Okay,
I'll call her now. I'll give her a quick shout right now and see if that works, and if it does, then we'll go ahead. But yeah, just let me talk to her and make sure that she's around.
Okay, that sounds good. Let me call you back within the hour. Would that be acceptable to you?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. McDonald. I'll talk to you in about an hour.
Now you're calling me back in an hour. Hello?
Yeah, hello, Mr. McDonald. This is Michelle London from Keller Williams. How are you?
I'm good. I talked to my wife, and unfortunately tonight, I'll be around so I can meet with you, but she's not going to be here. Is that okay?
No, it's really preferable that both individuals attend the meeting. It's important because we want input from both people who will be living in the home. So, right. What about tomorrow night? Or typically, are days or evenings better for you?
Evenings are usually better.
Okay, or weekends. I mean, that's certainly an option. We're coming up to the weekend.
Yeah, we could do it either. Yeah, I think. How about maybe something on Saturday after 10 o'clock?
Yeah, that would be good. 10 o'clock would be perfect. Our offices. Do you know where the Mission Viejo Mall is?
Yes.
Okay, our offices are on the same street, the opposite side of Crown Valley.
Okay, well, maybe you could send me an email with the
Absolutely,
address.
I will. I'd like to confirm your email address. It's jmcdonald@Success Website or whatever it is at Craig Proctor Productions.
Yep.
Okay, I will send you a confirmation email for Saturday at 10 o'clock. May I ask, what is your wife's first name?
Janet.
Janet, okay. Well, excellent. I look forward to meeting you and Janet in our offices at 10 a.m. on Saturday, March 5th.
Okay, so first of all, good job. Good job. I threw some objections at you, and you did well. And I really wanted to force you, Michelle, to differentiate yourself from, to differentiate your offer from what I might be receiving, which I thought you did a really good job of as well. Okay, so
I do have a problem with no-shows, though. I have individuals that don't show up or who cancel like an hour before we're supposed to meet.
Okay.
What is it that you said exactly to make sure that they attend the meeting?
All right, so here's what I'm going to suggest. First of all, what I'm waiting for you to do, remember, the prospect is likely to show up if two things are true. Number one is that they really understand the benefit of the appointment, and number two is that they don't feel the threat of cost or obligation. And that was the part that I thought was a little bit lacking. In other words, you're focused so much on finding a good time for me to book this appointment, but you have to also make sure that I'm comforted in knowing that you're not going to charge me money. Okay? Because if you're getting no-shows, I'll tell you that a percentage of those no-shows are due to the understanding that the prospect has that you are going to charge them money or obligate them in some way that makes them uncomfortable. So you cannot go overboard enough in making sure they understand, listen, there is no cost to this whatsoever. I just want to do a good job for you. So I'm going to give you a little bit of homework, Michelle. I want you and your wife to sit down, and I want you to consider all of the important elements in the home that you're looking for, everything that you really want, everything that you have to have. That way, when you come in and meet with me on Saturday, we can do a really good, quick job of getting some properties and getting you out on your way. And I'll even provide you with a list on the spot if you want to drive by and look at some properties. But remember, Michelle, there is no cost. There's no obligation to buy anything. And I will send you confirmation with the address and everything else. And we'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I have a question for you on that, James. You know, I have done something to that extent, but it's not really true that we're not obligating them or that we're not trying to obligate them, because when I have them come in, you know, and I show them...
Here's my language. Michelle, you're never obligated to buy a home. Is that true? Okay,
that is
now,
true.
Let me go one further than that, okay? If I offer you the cancellation guarantee, are you obligated?
No,
if I offer
you're
you the
not.
cancellation guarantee, are you obligated, yes or no?
No.
There you go. So I want you to feel absolutely comfortable. In other words, watch this. By coming to this appointment, nobody has to do anything. They don't have to do anything. Now, watch this. If I happen to compel you to sign a buyer contract and hire me, you are never obligated to buy a home. And if you feel that I'm not the best agent to represent you, you're not obligated to use me if I offer you a cancellation guarantee. So don't be afraid of using that language strongly. We must remove the threat of cost and obligation to the prospect.
But I did have a buyer this last weekend who said that you're trying to obligate me to sign a contract, and I don't feel comfortable signing a contract. I have no problem with you, and I do think we want to work with you, but I don't want to sign any contract. I don't like to feel boxed in.
Okay.
And
Did you use, well, then the language that you use, a cancellation guarantee, is critical. Because, I mean, I could handle that very easily. I'm in the business of representing clients. The only way I can represent a client is if they hire me. But you've got a dilemma, because you could be hiring a realtor that you don't know that maybe doesn't do the kind of job that you're anticipating that I would do for you. So you might make a mistake in hiring me. So here's what I'm going to do to fix this. I'm going to give you my cancellation guarantee right here. And I want you to take a look at this, because what this outlines is that at any time, for any reason, if you feel that I'm not doing the job you anticipated, you can cancel our agreement. You're not obligated to stick with me if you don't think I'm doing a good job. As a matter of fact, what this outlines is that the onus is on me every day to exceed your expectations. And if I don't, I fully expect that you'll take me up on this cancellation guarantee. Does that sound fair to you? Because listen, Michelle, I'm in the business of representing clients. I can't work with somebody that I don't represent, just like an attorney. I'm in the business of representing clients, so I can't work with you if I don't represent you. But at the same time, I do understand your dilemma, and that's why I'm meeting you in the middle by offering you this absolutely risk-free cancellation guarantee. Michelle, does that sound fair to you?
It sounds fair to me, but it didn't sound fair to the client. She just felt she doesn't like to sign contracts.
Okay, well, guess what? Then you're not working with her. You know, you got to pick your battle. You got to say next. You know what they're basically saying is this: you're saying all I ask in return is for your loyalty. You know, that's all I'm asking for in return. You don't pay me. You're not obligated to buy anything. You can cancel our agreement if you think that I'm, you know, not for you. All I ask in return is for your loyalty. And what they're saying to you is, Michelle, I really appreciate that, but I do not agree to be loyal to you. Now, here's the question you got to ask yourself. Would you rather find out that this person is disloyal in 15 minutes? Or would you rather work with them for 5 weeks, and then find out that they're disloyal? What would you prefer?
You're right. You're right, James.
You know, I mean, all
Earlier
you're doing
is better.
You're not losing the buyer by making them sign the contract. You're not losing them. You're losing them faster. If you're going to lose them, you're going to lose them. In other words, if they're not going to do business with you, they're not going to do business with you. You'd rather know that immediately than later. So you're making it very easy for them to come clean. You know, here's what they're really thinking. Look, here's the deal. My nephew got their real estate license and they're new. And, you know, I told them that I'd use them to buy our home. But they don't know what they're doing right now. So I'm going to use you to help me find what I'm looking for. And then when I find what I'm looking for, I'll use my nephew to buy the property. Are you cool with that?
I'm not cool with that at all.
Right. Well, guess what? I'd rather find that out right away than find out, you know, weeks later after doing a whole bunch of work for somebody and, you know, anticipating that I had a client here that represented a profit for me. Here's the deal. If your lead generation is in place and you're generating a couple of leads or more every day, no one prospect matters. I mean, when I say matters, what I mean is this. No one prospect is going to cause us to, you know, change our system and, you know, compromise our system. That's a better way of stating it. Right?
No,
we've got to set the rules of engagement. And if somebody is telling us, look, what I really want is I just want to use you, and you know, I'm not committing myself to you. I'm not hiring you. I would not hire you. Well, I would like you to try to ask an attorney to do work on your behalf without hiring them. They won't. They wouldn't do it. As a matter of fact, no professional would. You hire them, and as their representative, they work for you. But you're in the business of representing clients. A client is someone who's hired you. So I need you to hire me, but at the same time, I understand your dilemma. Anyway, again, this is a conversation for the appointment, not getting the appointment. I thought your role play was very, very good, Michelle. And, you know, I think you've really made massive, massive improvements in the universal script. And that's why we're all here today. So I'm really delighted of that.
I have the best teachers.
There you go. There you go. Say it again.
Thank you, James. That was wonderful. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Okay, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank Rick Brash for piping up here. I brought him on unexpectedly. He didn't know that was coming, but always great to have Rick on here as well. And Andrea, thank you so much. Now, one thing. Tomorrow is our ad clinic session, so you can send in some ads, and we'll take a look at what you send in. But also, record some of your calls, and we'll listen to those you know, on upcoming Thursday role play calls as well. You can see how helpful it is to do that. So I hope some of you will take that under advisement and do so. Anyway, Andrea, thanks so much for your help.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Talk to you all very soon. Have a great afternoon.